Right. Good afternoon, everyone. We will now call the February 2nd, 2026 board meeting to order. Mr. Wilburn, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Representing Educational District 1, we have Ms. Katie Howard.
Present.
Representing Educational District 4, we have Ms. Jennifer McDonald.
Present.
Representing Educational District 3 and Board Vice Chair, we have Dr. Ken Zeff.
Present.
Representing Educational District at Large Seat 9 and Board Chair, we have Ms. Jessica Johnson.
Present.
Representing Educational District 6, we have Ms. Patrice Hutcherson.
Present.
Representing Educational District at Large Seat 8, we have Dr. Casey Brock.
Present.
Also present is Mark Copeland, a senior at Best Academy and the student advisory delegate. Madam General Counsel Nina Gupta, and also present is our superintendent, Dr. Brian Johnson, and Board Member Brooks, who is coming in. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Also, I'm President Michael Wilborn.
Yes, ma'am,
I'm on
and
team.
Board Member Erica Mitchell, representing Educational
you.
District 5.
Thank you. Now I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the January 12, 2006 organizational meeting and the January 12, 2026 board meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved by Board Member McDonald and seconded by Board Member Zeff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for the February 2nd, 2026 board meeting?
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It has been properly moved by Board Member McDonald and seconded by Board Member Zeff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This afternoon, we have three presentations that are aligned to our strategic plan. Our first presentation will begin with an update from Dr. Siobhan Mincy, Ms. Joanne Wyckoff around our focus to accelerate early learning. Our second presentation will be by our Deputy Superintendent of Academics, Tommy Usher, and Chief Human Resource Officer, Felicia Lester, around promoting strong teachers, leaders, and staff. And then Dr. Lisa Bracken will provide us an update on our system being efficient and effective and our monthly budget update for our FY27 budget conversation. So I see Ms. Wyckoff and Dr. Mincy up, so we'll turn to them at this time.
Good afternoon. Board Chair Johnson, Vice Chair Zeff, members of the board, Dr. Johnson. I am Joanne Wyckoff, Director of Office of Early Learning. Today I have the pleasure of sharing with you updates on early learning. My objectives for this presentation are to provide you with an overview of what is taking place in the early learning space throughout our district and share strategies and our next steps. You will also hear from a couple of pre-K teachers later on in this presentation. Uh-oh. Yeah. Okay. As a community of believers in getting back to the basics, we must evaluate our current practices, set reasonable goals, and work effectively and efficiently to achieve them. Our goal is to provide sustainable initiatives in an effort to accelerate early learning. We have identified 3 leading indicators to evaluate our effectiveness in the early learning space. Our foci are to increase family engagement, provide high-quality instruction, and optimize enrollment opportunities. These leading indicators contribute to our key performance indicators. Bill Gates once said, "The first 5 years have so much to do with how the next 80 turn out." End quote. Each child's journey begins long before the first day of kindergarten. The Early Learning Department believes this, which is why we are invested and fully committed in our work to ensure our earliest learners, whether they are in the district or in the child care center or even at home, receive optimal opportunities for success. Atlanta Public Schools has long been a leader recognizing that opportunity must begin early. It has helped shape Georgia's commitment to early learning through investments in pre-K, access, community partnerships, and research-based practices. Early learning stands on that legacy, serving as a critical bridge between early learning and K-12 education. Today, I will share 3 key areas of our work: family engagement, high-quality educational experiences, and lottery optimization. In addition to our educators and our committed families across the district, I would like to take a moment to thank partners who have helped shape the work we do. Without our partners, we will not be able to accomplish the great things happening in early learning. This is not an exhaustive list. We have a host of partners along with the ones displayed here who have played an integral role in supporting our initiatives and efforts. Just a quick spotlight: funded and supported by Quality Care for Children and PACT, our Early Learning Department is happy to share that the child care scholarships have been given to 132 APS employees, serving a total of 154 children over the course of 3 years. The scholarships have reduced the out-of-pocket child care costs APS employees would have had to pay to keep their children in a quality-rated child care center. In an effort to accelerate early learning, we must have strategies in place that directly contribute to our indicators. Today, I will take a moment to dig deeper in each strategy of our next steps. Strategy number 1, strengthening the collaboration with families and early learning providers. Strategy number 2, providing high-quality curriculum, coaching, and instructional support. And strategy number 3, identifying underserved neighborhoods and strategically increasing pre-K enrollment. Let's take a closer look at family engagement, the heart of what we do in the Office of Early Learning. Our families are supported through a comprehensive approach that includes monthly in-person events offering hands-on guidance to strengthen children's literacy, numeracy, and social emotional development, along with monthly virtual engagements that connect our Head Start parents to essential community resources supporting family well-being. This year, in an effort to be more intentional, our monthly events have been cluster-focused and Head Start site-focused. Our Head Start virtual meetings, designed and hosted by our family support specialists, have averaged approximately 30 parents, while our in-person events average 50+ families. These efforts have been supported by the entire team, bringing enrollment, educational, and wellness opportunities across the district. Last Thursday, we hosted our biggest ever annual literacy night. Kudos to our literacy specialist for her planning and execution of this great event. Lots of community vendors, almost 300 family members attended. And thank you, Board Member Brock, who stopped by to witness this spectacular event. We have done much work in the area of transitioning our children from pre-K to kindergarten. Kinder Camp will run for 2 weeks in the month of June in an effort to provide our children in the community a fun and engaging early learning experience. The benefits of attending are endless, where children strengthen school readiness skills, routines, and foundational skills in the summer, a prep before they start their kindergarten year. We need your help in spreading the word about Kinder Camp. Our goal is bold: 200 children this year. It is necessary and rewarding for our kindergartners, and we can make it happen. Our next step centers on continuing to support all clusters across the district and deepening the impact in the Washington and Douglas cluster feeder patterns. Currently, data shows that there are 270 children between the ages of 0 to 4 in that area, the highest number of children with the greatest need of that age range across the district. These children will potentially matriculate at APS, so supporting them as early as 0 to 4 years of age is important. We are connecting with Grady Hospital's Healthcare Center and Health Center and will be reaching children as early as 9 months in every wellness checkpoint, providing families with resources and support in the early learning space. Our support is not bound to outside sources. We will continue to strengthen from within our district by mentoring students who are enrolled in ACCA's Infant Toddler Program. We are also reestablishing our Early Learning Advisory Council, which comprises of our pre-K teachers, paraprofessionals, and early learning providers across the community to support families with birth to 5 children and provide valuable resources and guidance in the wellness, literacy, and social emotional spaces. Now let's take a moment to look into our instructional piece. This year we launched a pilot using Heggerty, a phonemic and phonological awareness supplemental program, another opportunity to strengthen our pre-K students' literacy skills. 15 classrooms across all of the 57 pre-K classrooms are involved in this pilot in an effort to align the literacy opportunities in the K-5 space. The goal is to have Heggerty in all pre-K classrooms in the fall. Our instructional support specialists are boots on the ground supporting and coaching teachers with the main curriculum, Frog Street, delivery of lessons, and Heggerty, as they review weekly assessments and the KRI, which is Kindergarten Readiness Inventory. It's taken 3 times a year. They will be able to support teachers with small group and whole group instruction. Let's take a look at how our pre-K children performed on the Kindergarten Readiness Inventory last school year. They showed growth throughout the year and ended pre-K with remarkable gains. All pre-K student subgroups by race demonstrate substantial growth from fall to spring in SY25, with 70% to 95% demonstrating and above in literacy, and students with disabilities have also shown considerable growth. This next slide shows subgroup performance in math and print word name writing, broken down by race. Pre-K students demonstrated growth, as well as students with disabilities demonstrated growth from fall to spring. Here's a snapshot of the KRI data from the fall of this school year. In the fall, math was our strongest skill, while our greatest opportunity for growth is in the area of phonological awareness. Heggerty implementation, as mentioned earlier, can help strengthen this area, and we will continue to observe and analyze data to determine next steps. We just closed the assessment window for mid-year. I anticipate considerable growth in all domains. Mid-year data will soon be displayed on APS graphs. Our next steps, we are aiming for deeper impact. Full Heggerty rollout in all classrooms. Pre-K teachers to enroll and complete Cox Campus course offerings that are specifically intended for early learning. Course offerings will include how to build vocabulary and language development, monitoring student progress, to name a few. This summer, my team will pilot a pre-K principal retreat focusing on getting principals familiar with the alignment of the GELS standards and kindergarten standards. Also DECAL, which is Department of Early Care and Learning, compliance guidelines, and support systems offered through our team for pre-K teachers in our buildings. Now for a bright spot. We have 2 teachers from Bolton Academy, and they are coming up to share their personal and instructional experiences in pre-K. Fun fact, well, first you will hear from Miss Billups. She is our pre-K teacher. Fun fact, Miss Billups has been in APS for 15 years. She started as a paraprofessional at Brandon for 11 years, and she's working on completing her 5th year at Bolton. And then also you will hear from Miss Hosley. She's our teacher assistant. Next month will make it 31 years she has been in APS, and she's been at Bolton since it opened 23 years ago. Miss Phillips.
Good afternoon, board members and administrators. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Melody Billups, and I am proud to serve as a pre-K teacher at Bolton Academy. My journey in education began as a paraprofessional, where I spent 11 years learning from incredible educators and working closely with young children. Those experiences sparked my passion for early learning and led me to the privilege of teaching pre-K. Pre-K is a critical stage in a child's life. It lays the foundation not only academically, but socially and emotionally. It's where children learn to listen, communicate, build confidence, and develop a love for learning, all while having fun. Before I discuss Heggerty, I want to take a moment to recognize some key supporters of our pre-K program. Dr. Mincy, thank you for always championing our work and understanding the importance of early education and building a strong foundation for lifelong learning. Your support means so much to us and our students. Ms. Stevenson, I deeply appreciate your trust, flexibility, and encouragement, which allows us to be creative, all while reinforcing meaningful academics. And to the Office of Early Learning, thank you for your outstanding work in bringing families together, like last week's Literacy Beyond the Stars, and for providing high-quality resources such as Heggerty that strengthen our classrooms and community. One of the most impactful tools we use is Heggerty, which focuses on phonological awareness, a vital skill for early literacy. Before children can read, they must be able to hear, identify, and manipulate sounds. Heggerty provides daily practice through engaging routines and movement activities that our students love and look forward to every morning. High-quality programs like Heggerty make a measurable difference. When students enter kindergarten with strong foundational skills, they are more confident, better prepared, and ready to succeed. Investing in pre-K and programs like Heggerty help close learning gaps and support long-term success for our students. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to serve our youngest learners and to advocate for the importance of early childhood education. Thank you for your continued support and investing in the future of our students.
Good afternoon, board members and fellow educators. I am Reva Hosey, and I just want to brag on pre-K a little bit. You may say, what is taught in pre-K? What do we do? So I want to look at 4 aspects of pre-K. We teach them about sharing, cooperation, self-regulation, and of course, managing those emotions. That is the social emotional growth of a child that age. We also prepare them for academic readiness. We introduce early literacy, problem solving, math problems, and we do it all in a playful way. We can also teach them independence. They come in, they can't hang up those book bags. They can't put that water bottle up. They don't have no idea what's going on through the day. But we teach them independence and we teach them routine. They can tell us when it's time for whole literacy. They can tell us when it's time for small group literacy. So they learn routines also. And we also help with those physical development. We have students come in, they may not know how to hold a pencil, but we teach them how to hold a pencil. and how to write with a pencil. So when they do go to kindergarten, they can do those opinion writings that are required. But most of all, we focus on discovery rather than just sitting at a desk. So pre-K for me prepares them for the big kid school, as I call it. So it also creates a positive attitude towards school and helping children become confident learners. And that is why I love pre-K.
And now our final strategy discussed today is enrollment. A coordinated, community-centered approach has been instrumental in advancing our enrollment and outreach efforts. For example, GEARS, Georgia Early Education Alliance for Ready Students, have continued to support our enrollment goals by being boots on the ground, visiting the community, grocery stores, centers, school events, spreading the word about pre-K enrollment. This slide shows the number of pre-K students by feeder pattern. North Atlanta holding the highest number of students, though the Carter feeder pattern is the smallest in terms of number of schools. Of all the other feeder patterns, improvement in that area is necessary. We continue to focus on the areas which are currently underserved by increasing the communication across the community. Our current enrollment across the district is 1,024. We are at 90% capacity. We have seen a decrease in enrollment in a few schools, while an increase in interest to expand in others. With the decrease in enrollment in a few schools, we have participated in community events for recruitment, such as Greenbrier Mall event, which focused mostly on the Thorough feeder pattern, though everyone was invited, led by our enrollment specialists and supported by our entire team and GEARS ambassadors. Last year's lottery resulted in 72% of seats that were offered in zone families, 22% of seats were offered in out-of-zone families, and almost 6% were offered to employees that reside out of zone. This year's lottery prioritizes admission for parents electing to enroll at their zone school, while also providing an option for families to exercise choice. With this new lottery process, it increases continuity and a more seamless transition from pre-K to kindergarten for our youngest learners. Our pre-K lottery application window will begin on February the 23rd and end on March 20th. The lottery will take place on March 31st. On the left, this slide indicates the number of APS pre-K vacancies against the number of APS pre-K seats. On the right, this chart indicates the schools that have 6 or more vacancies. This slide indicates a breakdown of licensed providers, capacity, and the Georgia pre-K seats. We are in partnership with the early learning centers across the city. South Atlanta and Thorough have the least licensed providers and capacity, while Midtown, Jackson, and North Atlanta have the most providers and capacity. It is important to note that PACT will need more information and more up-to-date information from PACT. Our next steps are to continue and increase in recruitment efforts in areas that are the most challenging. We plan to continue outreach efforts to maintain consistent community engagement and visibility. We have partnered with the Office of Family Engagement, APS's Office of Family Engagement, to maximize our efforts. We have a host of action items in place to advertise and get the word out to the community at large. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm at the point for questions and answers.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Questions? I'll start on this end.
Thank you so much for the information and, of course, all the incredible work being done in pre-K, and appreciate our educators being here today. My two now seniors benefited from pre-K at Parkside so long ago. And these slides are so helpful to really tell the story of what's happening now, and really appreciate y'all digging in. I actually went through the pre-K ambassadors training just to see firsthand what's happening. Incredible educators in that space, and providers who really knew some of the challenges around making sure everyone knows the value of pre-K, and looking at particularly like Douglas, Washington, Carver. I know those are all, different situations and circumstances in schools and availability, but I guess what you all see going forward and giving us updates and how we can lean in the space and be updated around how we're working with Gears and PAC to really understand the challenges in each of those situations, and leaning in with the boots on the ground, the advertisements, the in-person. What do you see as a structure going forward that's different based on your knowledge than what we've done in the past, to really ensure that we're identifying some of those barriers? I've even heard lack of early care and aftercare for a lot of families. To not have that care is a barrier for them. And I know it was brought up around documentation, like how we're able to meet families where they are with that. Any thoughts around where we are now and where we're looking to go, and maybe those two areas in particular?
I think the answer to that would be to be more intentional in our strategies for recruitment, and to dig deeper, especially into the areas that are needing the most help. So we have the Douglas and Washington clusters. We have the Carver cluster. There are sprinkles of other clusters, but it's more to be more intentional with our recruitment efforts. Again, you mentioned Gears, PACT. We're boots on the ground every month. Even my team goes out on Saturdays, and in the evening we have different events, just to provide that opportunity for people to learn more about pre-K. So it's just more of making intentional efforts in that sense.
And then we can add about, so when we're doing our events, like we just did Literacy Beyond the Stars, and that was an event that catered to about 300 parents. We're trying to be creative in how we offer services to families so that they understand and they hear about our office before they get to 4 years old. So just expanding that outreach with the services that we offer the community. We also, I'm going to have Joanne talk about the partnership that we've just done with our social emotional learning, how we're offering those classes to parents as well. It's really trying to have a grassroots effect on, we're going to provide services to the parents so that we get that word of mouth, we get more traction about what we offer, not just pre-K, but how we can offer that so the children are ready before they get there. And then we're also working on what our recruitment is going to be. So as you heard us say about the even the pre-K summer school and expanding it, so it's not 1 week now, it's 2 weeks, because we want to offer more value for families so they don't have to disrupt their summer schedule for just 1 week, but we're offering 2 weeks. We're really pushing it to spread out across our district to offer those 200 spaces as well. So we're really just trying to meet the parents' needs, get out a little bit more in our advertising and the services that we offer. But I'll have her talk a little bit about that social emotional part too.
So we just started an opportunity for parents to learn more about the strategies for social and emotional development, and it's called Ready to Grow, and it's for every single month for this entire year. So we have the opportunity to have parents either join virtually or join face-to-face. We've even extended it for educators to learn more about the strategies, effective strategies in the classroom. So educators also are invited to these courses, and they are every month. And we actually also fund substitutes for it. So the actual school building does not have to worry about paying for the substitute pay. So
Thank you for all of that, and I'll be looking out for events to help spread the word as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Lots of great information there. And I always love hearing about pre-K. I think it's the foundation of just where we're going in APS in general. I have a few quick questions here. I'll kind of throw them out there rapid start. I'm really happy to hear just the work that's being done around the family engagement piece. I think that that's really, really crucial. Has there been any consideration about kind of creating a bit of a like transition hub? We talked about just like how we are having good engagement in the in-person meetings, but also in the virtual meetings. I think we have 30 and 50, but ways that we can kind of consolidate some of that information on our website or somewhere like that where people can have a bit of a hub as they transition from some of your early learning to kindergarten. I think that that would be something that, would be helpful as well. I did see as we looked at the kindergarten readiness inventory numbers that there is a bit of a gap between on the print and word and the name writing space when we look at fall in the spring. Lots of progress in all of them. But are there ways that we're thinking about kind of addressing just how do we address that a little earlier? I know we mentioned the Frog Street kind of curriculum. Are there opportunities to address print and word and name writing a little earlier to prepare kids more for kindergarten through that curriculum?
That's a great question. That's an excellent question. When we look at Frog Street, we're using that as a curriculum just to guide our instruction. So just like with any curriculum throughout, even from K through 5, that's just our guide. So teachers will have the opportunity to supplement the practices in the classroom to ensure that those gaps are being addressed. So one of the things that we have is that we have 5 instructional support specialists that work boots on the ground looking into any gaps that we see in terms of instruction, and we actually coach the teachers on that. We have something called Work Sampling Online, which also addresses that, which is a part of pre-K across all of the schools. So that is some way where teachers can determine or take a snapshot of a student's piece or work and actually analyze what their performance is and work towards addressing that gap.
Great suggestion on the transition hub. We do have a transition specialist that Joanne will tell you about. And then I just wanted to add, this year we implemented in K-12 a district-wide instructional framework. And we do plan on leaning into our early learning space to also embed a instructional framework just so that we can have a standards of excellence that's across every school and we can reduce the variability. So we are going to lean in and use that data to be able to build in. So there are practices that can, like the print, that gap that you're talking about, the print, the name, and that particular data piece is what I would refer to as something that could be more of an easy fix with just some daily practice. So just giving a shout out to Ms. Billups and Ms. Holsey. Some of us have had, I think I'm going to give a shout out also to Mr. Hill back there. His child is in their class, but they do a daily practice every day. Like before you come in, it's called the ticket in the door. So there's tickets in the door, there's tickets out the door, but there are some standard practices that you can build across our district, and that's one of the things that we're leaning into. So we're trying to balance the whole autonomy, but then also what is that standard of excellence that you have across your school district, and we will be implementing some routines that are universal across the board that will address what you just discussed.
So going back to the transitions, we do have a lot of our work is between 0 and 4. So we have a transition specialist on our team who goes out to the early child care centers, working with the early child care center directors, teachers. We also have events, but oftentimes we use those events and kind of intertwine them with what's going on with Head Start and also what's going on in the in-person regular pre-K sites. So in terms of her work, she does a lot with that, and part of her other work is the kinder camp that will be taking place this summer. So that piece is pretty much addressed in terms of transitions.
Thank you. You know, I would love to see us get to a place where we eventually have like some parent navigators that can help people through this process. I know it's a lot for a lot of our early parents to kind of take on. One last question on my end. I saw that we have some spaces available in pre-K. I believe 76 in the one of the buckets and 32 with our traditional schools. Just trying to get a sense of, is the plan to expand out pre-K? I know as we talked about just addressing some of the need in some of our underserved areas, you know, is the plan to broaden those numbers out? Because there doesn't seem to be a lot of seats really left if we start to kind of grow in this space.
Yeah, so our plan, we do plan on expanding, but we have to do it very strategically. So that's just a part of our strategic priorities, to really think about how we're servicing pre-K4, how in the future, how we can use our repurposing of schools to even address younger ages in pre-K as well. Right now, what we're trying to do is navigate the transitions that we're going through with our different schools and what the pre-K will look like, what the pre-K space will look like. So we have pre-K in almost every school. We have, I think, 2 schools left, 3 schools left that we are hoping to bring a pre-K classroom to as well. And then we are looking at numbers right now to figure out where the best places to be able to expand in a way that also doesn't take away from other schools and their enrollment too. So expansion is on the horizon, but we want to do it in a very strategic way, in a way that we can scale out. And again, I'm going to go back to that standards of excellence. We want to do it in a way that as we expand out, we are putting excellent opportunities in front of our parents.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patrice, one of the newest board members. And I just want to say, as a public educator, I was so excited that my colleagues were here. I don't know them personally, but my mom was a public educator for over 32 plus years, and she was an early childhood specialist. So when I saw Mr. Hill's face light up, that lets me know y'all are taking care of his child and doing a great job, because listening to you and your passion for what we teach our children lets me know that we need to support this program. And more importantly, I had in my mind, there's so many things that go through your head when you're sitting up here on this microphone, but everything that we learned, I think there is a saying, I know it is because my mom had in her classroom, we learned in kindergarten at an early stage. So if they don't get that confidence and the independence, like Ms. Holsey said, you know, just being able to hold their pencil, put up their book bag, and learn the skill sets needed to be independent and to have courage and honesty and all of those skill sets at an early age, then they're just not going to have it throughout life. It's going to be difficult to reiterate that to them. So a great childhood, you can tell children that have had a great childhood, like this young man sitting next to me, I'm sure he's gone to all the best schools. He's already at Best Academy. But sitting next to him, I did a commercial. They have a light because of people like Ms. Billups and Ms. Holsey. And I want to say thank you for your story. Now, my colleagues, they said a little different, but some of them have little children up here too. That's why they ask so many questions. I won't say who it was. But thank you so much for your service, and thank you for coming and sharing, taking away from your time. And you have an ally in myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final questions from my colleagues on the end?
Good afternoon. I am Markel Copeland. I really appreciate the presentation, especially Ms. Hosey's part on explaining, like, what are we doing, the foundation we're giving our pre-K scholars. One of the things I do have a question on top of that is, what are we doing to spark their interest in different fields? Like, hey, there's this, there's that. So, like, what are we doing to getting them open to the world?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
I should have, Joanne, I should have warned you. That Markel's on superintendent. He always chimes in on open office hours. And all I need is Markel on the call. He can fill up with great questions. So there you go. What are you doing?
Right. And Ms. Billups is going to share a little bit more information, but one of our partners is the Alliance Theater. So a lot of what the pre-K students do in the classroom are integrated with the arts. So we've had a partnership with them for many years, and we continue to have that partnership. They also, with the Alliance Theater, not only go into the classrooms to help or teach a class, they're actually coaching teachers as well in that sense. So Ms. Billups will also share a little bit about her experience in that piece. Great question.
So on a daily basis, we have what is called center time, just to kind of expand their mind. We have a dramatic play, we have a science center, we have a reading center, we have an art center, we have a building center, we have a Lego center, we have a writing center. All of these things are open on a daily basis. We don't tell them where to go. They say, well, I want to go to the science center, I want to go to the reading center. And each theme is different, so it might be talking about rocks, exploring bugs with a magnifying glass, dressing up as a cook one day, dressing up as a army military person another day, using the writing center to draw, using the writing center to also expand on that print and word awareness, that handwriting skill. These things are offered on a daily basis. In regards to the family piece, we have in our class a secret reader. So every week, parents have the opportunity to come in, look at our class, explore, and also read to your child and their friends. So our class is always open to families, just because we know how that connection is needed in pre-K. One last thing we do, field trips are a really, really big thing. Not only do we do outdoor field trips where we go to the Alliance Theater, Center for Puppetry Arts, we also include that in-house field trips. The Little Red Barn is one of our biggest favorite field trips, where the farm comes to us and they have a petting zoo at the school. That was a big hit last year, and we're bringing it back again this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a really good question. I guess my only question is, are we tracking the academic progress specifically of the students who receive pre-K services within the district? And also, I too am a father of two children that receive pre-K services in APS, one son at Scott Elementary, another son at Eastlake Elementary. And what I do know, just as being a young parent who was paying those child care bills every month at about $2,000 a month, I was so happy when I was finally able to get that free pre-K. And so it actually really surprises me to know that we even have vacancies in the first place, right? So that's just a note on that. And I heard you guys in terms of us needing to be more intentional about advertisement. So I guess I am wondering, like, do we have dollars specifically intended to help advertise our pre-K offering? I guess that's one general question. And my other question then too is, are we tracking the progress of the students that are receiving pre-K services from us, so that we're able to quantify or qualify the value add that our pre-K services are for the academic outcomes of our students as they matriculate?
Great question. And I do remember, I feel like this was a part of the conversation last year. So when I got on board and I was able to work with Joanne, one of the first things Joanne did was jump in with our data information team to work on tracking. So we have now taken our kindergarten readiness inventory, which is like our assessment for mastery for our pre-K students. We've taken that and we've gone digital with it. So it is now an APS graph. So a shout out to Joanne and her team, and she's working with Kimberly Lyons, who's a part of our DIG team, to put that into the system in order to track. So when we try to go back and look at, well, let's look at our students in third grade, their GMAT scores, and then look at how many of those students went through pre-K and how many of those students were external. We hit a little bit of a road just because we hadn't digitized the data long enough to be able to build a trend. But we are moving forward with just making sure that all of our data is now digitized so that we're able to track that with coding. And so our APS graph system, as you know, is very robust, and we're able to make those connections across data, but we weren't able to really build something, in my opinion, that can really build a trend for us to show you, just because we don't have the data in the system that dates back more than 2 years.
Dr. Johnson, I would encourage us as a district, especially as like in our strategic plan, we're being intentional about P3, P4 offering. To justify that investment, I think tracking the outcomes of the students that receive those services from us is really key for us to be able to justify, yes, this is why we are investing in this thing moving forward. So I don't want that to ever get lost. I hope that we can really tackle that one. Thank you.
And we agree as well. And so there is some preliminary data that might suggest that it is a benefit to go through the pre-K program, but just not enough for us to be able to really validate it with such a little data set.
Board Member Brock.
Very quickly, one, thank you for hosting the Literacy Under the Stars night. It was really fun, and congratulations on a successful event. And I'll pose this more as wondering, so you don't have to answer it. It'll be really quick, because it's aligned with what Shivy just mentioned. My thought was, what a great opportunity to promote APS elementary schools through the success of the pre-K programs. And I would imagine there's a subset of parents who haven't yet decided if they want to choose APS or not, and they wait until kindergarten. And so I think if they were to enroll a little bit sooner in the pre-K program, that could then potentially mean a better pipeline for the elementary schools. So to that point, I think it's just like a really great opportunity we could take advantage of.
Thank you.
Dr. Zeff.
Thank you for that. And I just want to pick up on something Board Member Brooks said. I think that's so important as we're going through the budget process. You know, we'll view this as an instructional strategy and stack it up. I think it's even more beyond. I don't want to just look at GMAT scores. I've seen evidence about attendance, about lower discipline rates, or even lower IEP identification. So there's a broad range of outcomes that can be really exciting from this. And so let's the more you help us, the more we can help you. I mean, because this looks like a wonderful investment of taxpayer dollars. Mm-hmm. So just thank you for raising that. The other question I have is, and this is a little bit about the equitable vision here. Is the goal is for every student to have pre-K? Is the goal to have every student have an APS pre-K, or is the goal to have every student have a high quality preschool experience?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Now I'm going to answer this as Siobhan Mincy. I do think that the goal is for every child to have a high quality pre-K experience. Now I am going to say that my experience as a principal, children that went through pre-K, we saw great readiness scores at kindergarten, but I think that if we're able to provide pre-K, we had some parents that they had a family routine. All of their children went to certain pre-K providers that was external, and they were ready to come to APS schools right at kindergarten. I think each lane is different, but I think that the biggest thing is how can we impact children receiving high quality experience in our own pre-K, and then through our partnerships that we have in the early learning space, we're also working with early learning providers that are external, making sure that when they come to us, they are still ready. So there are some partners that do that work that are scaling out the importance of having early literacy grounded in the science of reading. So regardless of where they receive their early learning experience, when they come in kindergarten, they're coming more ready than had they not chosen any experience at all.
All right, thank you both so very much for this presentation. I just want to recap a few things that I heard from my colleagues. We spent some time talking about getting a better understanding of the challenges of the feeder patterns, those that had a little slightly lower enrollment, and talked about increased recruitment and engagement of our community partners. We spent some time with the current Kindergarten Readiness Index, which is a really dynamic tool, but what are the opportunities for us to expand more resources for parents and look into some of of the transition hubs in those spaces. I heard early exposure for our students and the importance of leaning in to make sure that we're from cradle to career, really living through that particular philosophy, and then really being intentional about quantifying, how this dynamic work, and we're looking at the academic progress 3, 4, 5 years out for students who are able to take advantage of these opportunities. And just across the board, the main thing was just continued value add, because we realize this is incredible and important work, and look forward to continued data and information about it. Thank you so much. I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. All right, so we'll continue that by really talking about the importance of great teachers, leaders, and staff, and the work that's being done to recruit and retain and compensate those folks. So Ms. Felicia Lester and Mr. Tommy Usher.
Good afternoon, Board Chair Johnson, members of the Atlanta Board of Education, Superintendent Johnson, colleagues, APS staff, members of our wider community. I would also like to acknowledge the members of our human resource team who are here in the room and those joining us online today. Thank you for your partnership and continued commitment to serving our schools, staff, and students. I am Felicia Lester, and I serve as the Interim Chief Human Resource Officer for Atlanta Public Schools. I am pleased to present this board update on how APS is growing, promoting strong teachers, leaders, and staff alongside our Deputy Superintendent, none other than Tommy Usher. This presentation will highlight our progress, demonstrates how this work is being implemented across the district, and outline next steps aligned to APS 2030. We also elevate the voices of teachers. You'll hear from leaders and staff who are both executing this strategy and benefiting from strategic investment and talent growth. Our APS 2030 strategic plan calls us to get back to the basics. And at the core of this work is to acknowledge that APS indeed is as strong as the composition of our team. By strengthening our team, we strengthen instruction and accelerate student outcomes. We track a focused set of KPIs to monitor progress, identify risk, and target early interventions across engagement, experience, retention, compensation, and leader stability. The growth and development of people is the highest calling of leadership. As leaders of talent strategy, we know that this is also a system imperative. When we invest in the growth and development of our people, we strengthen organizational capacity and deliver more consistent outcomes for all students. We are a workforce built to serve students. We are a workforce built to serve, and this slide reinforces that student success depends on the interconnected systems of professionals. Over 75% of APF staff report directly to schools every day, working in partnership with more than 3,000 teachers and 200 school leaders. That reality requires a talent strategy that is intentionally supported, developed, and grows all employees. Our strategy to grow and promote strong teachers and leaders and staff are organized around 3 mutually reinforced priorities. Priority 1, investing in leader quality. You'll hear a little bit more about that from Mr. Usher. Investing in teacher quality and expanding career growth pathways for all staff. Strong school leadership is one of the greatest levers for instructional quality, culture, and retention. We start with leaders because they shape work conditions for teachers and staff. Our focus is both leadership development and leadership capacity.
Our leadership development model is built upon these three interconnected components: talent management, school leadership support, and instructional support. Effective talent management ensures that we have the right people in the right roles in our schools. School leadership support is all about building the capacity of our principals and our school leaders to lead people, but also ensure that schools have strong academic and culture systems operating in schools to move learning forward. Instructional support is ensuring that our building principals and their secondary leaders have the right tools and resources to lead and monitor effective teaching and learning. So when we're bringing our principals and school leaders together, whether it is a principals meeting or our annual HR summit that our HR team puts together, our goal is to ensure that our service and support to schools enable us to support principals in doing the things that are highlighted in bold in those reflection questions. And so we partner with HR to ensure that our principals have the training and the resources to attract, develop, retain the right people in their schools. Our associate superintendents work closely with our principals and their school teams to ensure that principals are able to create clarity, trust, and accountability that's required across the entire district. Our teaching and learning team partners with our associate superintendents, our principals, and their secondary leaders to ensure that the principals have, again, the resources that they need to ensure that instruction is grounded in the actual standards, aligned to research, but then also teachers are getting the feedback and the coaching that they need to improve their practice. And when we do all of these things really, really well, then we are able to enable principals to make better decisions for their staff and students, as indicated by this quote by one of our principals, Principal Whitfield, over at Bunch Middle School. So what does that look like in practice? When we think about system alignment and support, as a reminder, our associate superintendents have been reassigned to be grade band associate superintendents instead of K-12 associate superintendents. What that means is that allows our associate superintendents to provide more focused and targeted support to schools. In practice, one way this could look is an associate superintendent going to a school, partnering with the principal, observing a number of schools, utilizing a walkthrough tool that has been created by our teaching and learning team, aligned to the instructional framework that Dr. Mincy referenced earlier. The associate principals are walking the classes. At the end of that walkthrough, they are thought partnering and discussing glows and grows and coming up with actions to fill whatever gaps they may have seen inside of the school. That is just one way an associate sup provides support and coaching to principals each and every day. We also think about our monthly professional learning for principals, assistant principals, and instructional coaches. For our principals and assistant principals, that professional learning takes place during the principals and assistant principals meeting. For our coaches, that training takes place during the Instructional Coaches Academy. This time is always focused on grounded in academics and focused on instructional leadership. In addition to the monthly principals and assistant principals meeting, our APs and principals are also engaged in a professional learning series that teaches principals about leading change, creating accountability structures, but also creating effective work teams. That professional learning series supports the work that we're doing on a monthly basis with our principals and our assistant principals. Our principals also have access to data, much like they do on the academic side of the house from an HR lens, to help them make decisions around coaching and how best to manage the talent that they have in their buildings. And so they have access to retention data. They have access to survey results from their staff. They have access to certifications and so on and so forth that help them coach and develop the talent that they have in their buildings. Likewise, our HR team does a great job of training principals on how to use certain HR practices and tools that allow them to manage the people in their building. So one of the strategies you're going to hear about in a moment is around talent reviews. And talent reviews is one of the practices that principals use to basically think deeply about the talent that they have in the buildings to identify which staff need coaching, which staff need acceleration, and just generally thinking about how to move and position the people in their building.
Thank you, Mr. Usher. So as Mr. Usher stated, when we talk about talent reviews, it's a structured leadership matrix, and it really looks at the performance of the staff members as well as their leadership potential. So it's a 9-box matrix. They have those comprehensive conversations at the school level. So that can be a building principal, assistant principals, and they really talk about using comprehensive data where staff would land. And so this will either lead us into if we need to have it identifies high potential staff. Are there some development needs, maybe pedagogy content, as well as any risk that will happen with retention? And so we look at principals becoming talent developers, and they create consistency with the use of those multiple data points. So at this time, I'm happy to invite Dr. Tara Spencer, principal at Finch Elementary, and Forstella Taylor, associate superintendent with responsibility for our priority schools, to share how they are using talent reviews at the school and district level with teachers, with leaders, and the staff members.
Oh. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Tara Spencer. I'm the very proud principal of Finch Elementary School. And I'd like to begin with my thoughts of the mark of effectiveness of a school leader. And so I think school leaders in their effectiveness are able to move student achievement. I also think that they're able to build and sustain school culture, whether that's with staff and with students. But I also think that we're called to make sure that we are growing leaders in our building and building leadership capacity. So the APS talent review process has helped me to refine my leadership craft and being able to make sure that I am being an effective leader for the people that are in my building. Specifically, the talent review process is based in strengths. And so I am able to look at every individual that's in my building. I'm able to identify their strengths, where they're really strong, where some are plateauing, and where I may need to move people and grow them professionally. And so my leadership team and I are able to we ground our work in looking at multiple data points, whether that's classroom observations, assessment data, family communication, their engagement in PLCs, or their leadership dispositions, or their leadership readiness. And in that, I'm able to provide for them essential experiences that will help them to grow as leaders. Specifically, I'm very happy to say that I've been able to move instructional coaches into an assistant principal role, and I've been able to move a classroom teacher into master teacher leaders just this year. But all people do not want to be assistant principals or instructional coaches or principals, and that's important too, right? And so it's very important for us to make sure that we are providing professional development and ways to grow them inside of the classroom, but also providing experience for them where they can lead to at the school building. So what I will also say to you is, in the last year, I've been able to create committees where teachers are able to lead staff engagement. They're able to lead student life, innovative programming, family engagement, and they've also brought partnerships and built community engagement just by leading in the building. So I will say, with this process, this has allowed for teachers to feel seen, very valued, and they also are able to feel very supported, which has helped with retention. I'm not at 100% retention, but I'm pretty high, and that's because I believe that teachers do feel valued. All in all, I think the talent review process has helped with student outcomes. It creates the opportunity for us to make sure that teachers are well positioned and well placed. It allows for us to make sure that there are consistent Tier 1 practices in place so that all of our classrooms in the building can have the least amount of variability. And that has helped us to sustain student success at Finch Elementary.
Excellent. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Forestella Taylor, Associate Superintendent currently of Priority Schools. I have had the pleasure of implementing the talent review process as a principal at the elementary and at the high school level here in Atlanta Public Schools. This is not a new process. This process has been around at least for 7 years, perhaps 8, depending on how long I've been in the district. But in either case, it is a powerful tool. So I do want to speak to what this looks like. Right now, you see boxes in front of you and what they mean. Particularly, I want to talk about how they are utilized. So imagine a world where you move away from how you feel about an individual versus actually looking at data to determine whether or not that individual is a good fit for your building, whether or not they simply need coaching, whether or not they have leadership aspirations, whether that be instructional coach, assistant principal, or beyond, solid professionals, or just teacher leaders or staff leaders within the building. So bringing your leadership team into the building and having those tough conversations, one by one, item by item, staff by staff, really brings the right energy into the room. It oftentimes leads to a bit of sparring, right? I can see one thing as a principal, see an individual's progress as a principal one way, but my assistant principal may see them differently, or the instructional coaches, because they have a different level of engagement. Bringing that forward to what that looks like as an associate superintendent and how I have utilized the talent reviews to maximize what's happening with talent within our buildings is simply looking like this. At the end of each school year, or at the end of last school year, my program director and I spent time with each one of the schools that I support, simply to meet with them to look at their talent reviews, especially in the midst of budget crunching, trying to figure out which staff we can afford to retain within the building, but looking at it with the leadership teams to ensure that we have the right individuals in the right place, really maximizing the talent within the building to determine which teachers absolutely can move the work within the building. If you're looking at that matrix that's sitting in front of you, typically schools that have a great deal of their staff who are either in that middle box, coach and retain, or in one of those red boxes there, if you have the majority of your staff in those boxes, those are the schools that are typically meeting their school improvement goals and the work is moving at a steady pace. When you see schools, particularly our turnaround schools, you don't typically have as many staff in that upper quadrant. And what that means is my role as the associate superintendent and my team members is to support the principal and the leadership teams on how they can develop their staff, or leading them in those tough conversations that could result in staff finding other places, other opportunities, or finding other roles within the building to make sure that our focus remains on students. So that's just one way that we as associate superintendents are able to maximize talent reviews to make sure that the work of school improvement is occurring at a high level and that we are maximizing the support that we provide to our principals and our other school leaders within the building on a consistent basis.
Mr. Usher, Ms. Lester, mess with Ms. Forestella Taylor before she leaves. Y'all notice how she said, no, you can leave. I started messing with her early this morning at Benjamin Elijah Mays, Dr. Mays. I love how you said currently the associate of priority schools, because that means that APS only currently has priority schools, and we're getting ready to move them away.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have to come back and speak to them, but you can.
As I stated earlier, I need y'all to find a job for me because we're going to get all these schools off this list, sir.
I also want to give kudos to our schools. 100% of our schools completed their talent reviews and are engaging in those conversations. So now we're going to look at investing in teacher quality. We know that teacher quality is one of the strongest in-school levers for student outcomes, so we have a comprehensive program of development for growing and promoting strong APS teachers. This slide is from our Talent Pulse survey. You'll see a 3-year data source here. We had about 2,785 teachers respond last year, and we're trending higher than that for this school year. We know that the engagement shows increase in learning, coaching, and growth opportunities. While we see that planning has improved, that's still an area of focus for us. So you'll hear in our next steps a little bit more about how we are supporting that planning time and making sure that it feels like planning for teachers and that it's effective and maximized. So Ms. Payne is going to come and just kind of recap us on what we talked about last month around investment in teacher quality.
Good afternoon. So we wanted to highlight how we're intentionally strengthening the instructional core across K-12. We are investing in teachers through a coherent, job-embedded professional learning system. This ensures professional learning is ongoing, aligned, and directly connected to classroom practice. So we believe that this approach is grounded in 2 core beliefs. One is strong instruction is built through strong teams, and teachers improve fastest when learning is relevant, timely, and supported by trusted instructional leaders within the building. We utilize district-wide professional learning days to ensure that it is consistent implementation of high-quality instructional materials, standards-aligned instructional planning, and shared instructional expectations across all schools. And this work establishes a common instructional foundation. We deepen this work through ongoing job-embedded learning, including our monthly Teaching and Learning Thursdays, and these sessions are embedded into teachers' real work, planning sessions, analyzing assessments, and adjusting instruction in real time. And as a result, professional learning translates directly into classroom practice. Just-in-time instructional support. So we noticed at the beginning of the year, immediate instructional needs that were apparent. So we had, again, new standards, new instructional framework for K-12, and then new high-quality instructional materials. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to support these needs with flexible learning opportunities before, after school, as well as on the weekends. This support was intentionally aligned to, again, the K-12 instructional framework and components of explicit instruction. This ensured teachers were receiving support when it mattered the most. A critical lever in this system is instructional coaching and teacher leadership. Through our monthly Coach Academy, we build the capacity of instructional coaches to move from collaborative planning to professional learning communities, where they are able to analyze data and unpack units and lessons. This empowers teachers to facilitate PLCs and develop their own ability to internalize lessons and deepen their knowledge. Instructional coaches actually serve as a force multiplier, expanding high-quality instruction through school-based leadership. And our K-12 content specialists. They provide embedded, differentiated support, which includes modeling lessons, co-planning with teachers, facilitating PLCs, and analyzing assessment data. This ensures professional learning is content-specific, differentiated, and responsive to student needs. Together, these strategies create a coherent system of support that strengthens instruction, builds internal capacity, and drives continuous improvement across all schools.
So when we think about the investment in teacher quality across the career continuum, you'll see 3 buckets, one being growing our own teacher pipeline, where you'll see the partnership with universities, those paraprofessional to teacher pathways. Then you move into how do we strengthen new teacher induction? So there's a comprehensive induction program for novice phase teachers and that structured mentorship also training for principals. And then you see the advanced teacher leadership and instructional development. That is also connected to our talent reviews. When we identify those teachers that can benefit from those endorsement programs, those degrees, those master's degrees, as well as those teacher leader academies. So that's the continuum as we align that with the instructional focus. So we have a teacher, Ms. Takia, will come and tell her story about the impact this work has had on her.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Johnson, and district leadership. My name is Takia Rayad. I bring greetings on behalf of my principal, Ms. Shante Blackwell, Perkerson Elementary School, and the Carver Cluster. For 5 years, I have been a proud fourth grade math teacher and grade level lead at Perkerson Elementary. I am currently on my 14th year in education. I have completed the instructional coach endorsement and am currently participating in the teacher leader endorsement, which I look forward to continuing and completing this spring. I applied because I wanted to grow as an educator and leader while remaining closely connected to my classroom. I was especially drawn to the teacher leader opportunity because it allows me to support both student and teacher growth while learning from experienced APS professionals like Dr. Samantha Fitz. Having an instructor and a supportive principal who understand the work of APS from the inside makes learning practical, relevant, and immediately applicable to my daily work at Perkerson Elementary School. Through this experience, I've strengthened my instructional leadership and coaching skills and have been able to use them to apply practices that support my grade level team as well as novice educators in my school, creating a broader impact through reflective conversations, intentional planning, and data-informed instructional decisions that positively impact our scholars, my scholars. These real-time experiences have helped me see leadership as an extension of effective teaching rather than a step away from it. They have strengthened my confidence as a teacher leader and reaffirmed my commitment to continuing my growth within Atlanta Public Schools. I am provided opportunities to lead, and my leaders value my professional voice. Thank you for valuing this investment in professional learning that develops leaders from within and extends impact to both educators and students across our district. Having an Atlanta Public Schools veteran as my instructor has affirmed all that I hope to do for teachers and students. We are Atlanta Public Schools. Thank you for having me.
Our priority 3 is on expanding growth opportunities for all staff. What you see before you is our engagement survey. This is what our staffs are saying. Over 5,000 staff members completed this survey. So we know that we have increased in clarity, learning, and growth opportunities. And we know that these leading indicators of retention and workforce stability. We just closed the engagement survey window, and we will have an update at the April board, and hopefully we'll be trending upwards continuously with this survey data. So when you think about growing opportunities for staff that are not certified, the first one is if you desire to become a teacher. So if you desire to become a teacher, there are 2 pathways that are before you. The first one is, at minimum, you have to have a bachelor's degree. You receive that career coaching to decide if you want to go through a master's program or a certification program. We then support you with that GACE test prep, interview support, as well as resume writing, and we work with the recruitment office to put you in front of principals so that hopefully you gain employment with Atlanta Public Schools. The second one is Pathway 2, which is coming in 2026, and we're extremely excited about this one. We heard from a lot of our educators that have an associate's degree, and so they desired to become teachers, but we really did not have a program out there to support them. So we are pleased to say, starting in 2026, we will start a cohort of educators who have associate's degree. They will receive that career coaching. They will then receive a bachelor's in elementary education as well as special ed education. They will be provided with that GACE support, and that resume and interview writing will still be a part of the process. Very exciting. So we have Miss Caroline that will come and tell her story on how she has benefited from the Georgia State program.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Superintendent, and members of the Atlanta Board of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. My name is Carrie Lynn Searles, and I am proud to stand before you as a product of Atlanta Public Schools. I graduated from North Atlanta High School in 2014, and after completing my bachelor's degree, I rejoined APS as a paraprofessional. Thanks to the district's investment in me, I completed the Georgia State University's Master of Arts in Teaching elementary education program. I am currently a fully certified teacher at Barack and Michelle Obama Academy. Education runs deeply in my family. My mother is a retired Atlanta Public Schools educator, and while teaching was not the path I originally chose for myself, it is the path that allows me to make the greatest impact on the future leaders of tomorrow. I was motivated to apply for the Georgia State Master's Program to strengthen my instructional practice while continuing to serve students with excellence. Through this experience, I developed skills in reflective practice, instructional leadership, and data-informed decision-making. As part of the program, I also completed an ESOL endorsement where I received hands-on training in the science of reading, allowing me to better support multilingual learners and strengthen literacy instruction for all students. One of the most meaningful aspects of this journey was collaborating with educators across Metro Atlanta, engaging in honest conversations about real classroom challenges and receiving unbiased perspectives that sharpened my practice. The program was rigorous yet purposeful, and because I serve under a principal who holds high expectations, the work aligned with what I already do daily while pushing me to grow even further. Most importantly, this experience reshaped how I see myself. It reminded me that I am not defined by my past and that I am capable of achieving anything I set my mind to. In closing, the UACM Pathways program expanded my professional toolbox with mentors, resources, and relationships that will support me for years to come. When educators are supported at this level, students feel the impact first, and that is how lasting change happens. Thank you for your time and continued commitment to Atlanta Public Schools.
So then we have those staff members that perhaps you don't want to become a teacher, but you really want to just deepen your skills and competencies. So these are just a few of the offerings and how we support them. We still provide that career coaching. Some of that micro-credentialing work is out there that you'll hear about from someone who's benefited from that. Again, some of that aspiring leader work and some residency programs for those that desire to be counselors and other positions within the district. So Mr. Omar will come and tell his story about his experience.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Dr. Johnson, APS leaders, team members, and members of our community. My name is Omar Bailey. I serve as a facility supervisor in maintenance and operations. In my role, I support schools by making sure our campuses are safe, functional, and ready for learning each day. That includes coordinating vendors, overseeing maintenance, and life and safety systems, and leading teams who respond to routine work as well as urgent situations. While much of this work happens behind the scenes, it directly supports students, teachers, and school leaders by helping schools operate without interruption. As I grew in my role, I became more aware of the professional development opportunities available at APS. I wanted to strengthen my leadership skills while I continued to support schools through operations and I wanted to make sure I was prepared to take advantage of opportunities as they became available. I graduated from the district's Business Fundamentals Certificate Program and received coaching through our career development team. Both experiences helped me better understand how to lead people, manage work effectively, and approach decisions with a broader operational perspective. I thought continuing to grow within the operations team, I understood that strengthening my project management skills would be important. When I saw the district advertising opportunities for employees to earn micro-credentials, I was glad to see that project management was one of the areas offered. I completed a micro-credentials in project management through the University of West Georgia as part of the APS Level Up program. That experience strengthened how I plan work, manage timelines, coordinate across teams, and follow projects through from start to finish. These experiences are helping me grow as a leader within operations divisions by improving how I support my teams, communicate expectations, management resources, and deliver constant service to schools. I am committed to continuing to learn, grow, and apply what I've gained in my current role while preparing for future leadership opportunities within operations. I want to thank APS leadership and the board for continuing to prioritize and offer opportunities that support the growth and development of all APS employees. Thank you for your time.
Well, if you're interested in growing in APS, please contact grow@apsk12.org or scan the QR code. These are just a few of our partners in no particular order, but when you think about how we level up the staff of employees in Atlanta Public Schools, these are just a few of the universities and state agencies that support us in this work, and we're most appreciative. Let's look ahead. Where are we going for 2026, 2027? Before I continue, I want to pause and really take this opportunity to thank the board, thank Dr. Johnson, the staff, for the commitment in teacher experience. If you just look at our data, you see that our goal was 85.2, and we have reached 93% of our teachers having 3 or more years of experience. For retention, our goal was 86%, and we're at 90%, already reaching that 2030 goal of 90%. Teacher compensation, our goal was $91,072, and we're at $90,908, and we're confident that we're going to meet that 2030 goal of $100,000. And principal experience, the goal was 58.5%, and we have already reached 63%. So we know that we were surpassed the 75% goal in 2030. So we're excited that we've sustained this body of work for the last few years. So we got to go a little bit deeper. We got to see how we can now look at teacher quality, leader quality, and make sure that these goals are actually impacting the number one goal, which is student achievement, student outcomes, student mastery. So as we think about measuring teacher and leader quality, this is not a defined bucket, but we do want to draw attention to things that we're thinking about. This body of work will be much more intentional. It will have all key stakeholders at the table looking at various data points. But for an example, as a leader, taking into consideration their evaluations, thinking about that school climate. What's the climate that they create for students? And for both buckets, student mastery and growth have to be a part of the overall KPI. And so as we think about next steps, as I've stated, we will define and measure teacher and leader quality in collaboration with key stakeholders. We're going to support building leaders and creating master schedules that maximize planning time for teachers. That work has already started. In the last principal meeting, it was on budget and master scheduling, and they will continue to have a series of meetings on master scheduling, making sure that we're being strategic and maximizing. Mr. Shivy, you pushed me at the last meeting in August, and you talked about having a certification program for Atlanta Public Schools, and I'm happy to say that we're starting that work. And so we have a certification program that we're launching for aspiring teachers and leaders that will be aligned with the state for Georgia professional standards, but it will also embed the strategic plan of Atlanta Public Schools, and this will be a cohort of teachers from Atlanta Public Schools and leaders from Atlanta Public Schools. And we are also pushing that we are the ones that are in conjunction that are teaching these classes. And then last, we love this. We're going to partner with ACCA to support their teacher pathway. So there's a teacher pathway at ACCA, and we're going to support them with getting their paraprofessional certification. They will also receive some of that coaching and support, and we're going to help them to navigate through some of those teacher programs if they're interested. So hopefully they can come back to Atlanta Public Schools. And last but not least, we are going to roll out the talent review process for all central office leaders. We've started that process, but we're going to go deeper even with central office. Thank you.
Thank you both for this dynamic presentation and all of the educators that contributed today. Looking at the time, I'm going to start on this end and see if my colleagues have quick questions so we can move into the next presentation.
All right, a super quick one. I know that the work is first, thank you for everything you're doing. This is something I'm very passionate about. And wondering, it's hard but important and rewarding work, I believe, to teach in some of the schools that have the highest need and the need for the highest quality teachers. Mm-hmm. And so I was wondering, are there any incentives you've considered or any additional support or anything for teachers who are in some of our schools that might be like a priority school or might incentivize potentially a teacher to want to teach at one of the schools that has the greatest need?
So in terms of the support that's provided, one of the things that we do is we prioritize the support to schools based on data that demonstrate the highest needs. And so the teaching and learning team, they're very thoughtful about pushing out into schools. Dr. Payne talked about the planning sessions, the Teaching and Learning Thursdays, and other avenues for which they prioritize support for those schools. So while not necessarily on the HR side as much, but definitely in terms of making sure that in our highest need schools that we're on the ground providing the job embedded support that is needed to lift those teachers.
Only thing I would add is, of course, the impetus for the accelerated literacy model is, frankly, a differentiated pay structure that allows for K to 3 teachers that are going to those schools to be compensated differently. So absolutely, it is a look. I try to make it very common sense for people, right? Like if you work third shift, you make a little bit different pay, and it's just the way it is. Everybody wants first shift, and a lot of people will take the pay reduction to work first shift. And so when you go into more complex environments, and we know that we have a very diverse school district that is, has complexities across the board, you should be paid more, and that's just part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for talking about, because that literally was the first question to come to mind, like, are we considering having our own certification program within the district? For me, being the product of Clayton County's internal certification program, I also saw how it benefited retaining teachers who knew how to uniquely serve the students we serve. And so my hope is that we go into the same business of certifying teachers to uniquely serve the children that we serve. My ask would be that we could also think about how we can use some tools to retain teachers through that as well. I know in Clayton it was, it was $3,000 was the value of the program every year. You had 3 years you needed to commit afterwards. If you left early, you had to pay $1,000, whatever it was. So, I just encourage us to think about however we might want to use this as an opportunity to certify teachers, but also retain teachers. I do have curiosity about how many opportunities we would be able to create, albeit most of the new teachers that we're hiring are teachers who have experience already. And I'm wondering how limited we're getting in the opportunities. And so I am curious about, even for you had 2 program offerings, one for to get your master's, another if you had an associate's to be able to get your bachelor's. I'm just curious, what's the numbers? How many teachers are we able to offer those opportunities to? Thank you.
So when we talked about those 2 pathways, we were specifically talking about those that are not certified or in schools. So we have in our request a high number of non-certified staff members who desire to become teachers. So as we provide counseling to those groups, we recognize that although they were not certified and they were not pairs, because we started off with pairs, that there were a high number of educators who desired that. And so we're targeting those that are not currently educators who desired in the district.
Yeah, and we can get the specific numbers of how many of those classified employees take advantage of those options, and we'll include it for you all. That's not a problem.
You have a question? Go ahead.
I really do appreciate, I just want to give a huge shout out really quickly to the teachers and leaders within the school building because they're really having a huge impact on the students.
Yes.
And to touch on the quality part, you can have all the quality in the world, but what is the impact you're really having? So I'm really curious on how will students be able to voice their opinions on teacher and leader quality within the building?
Absolutely. So the slide that referenced the KPIs, there's a thing on there that says student experience, and that is going to be the student experience, student voice. That is imperative for us to capture that. And also that climate survey is also another way that we'll capture that, as well as taking this to the advisory. So we appreciate that.
Awesome. My colleagues on this end, just McDonald.
Thank you. We're all just going to thank you first. I guess that's how we do it. I've incredible reverence for teachers and everything that is happening in our schools, which is why we stayed in APS the entire route. The metrics are great. There's lots of positivity. I do have one question on slide 3. I'm a strong believer that people support what they feel they help create, and the engagement number is the only number have a little bit of concern about. What I'd love, just for the edification of everyone up here, is help us understand how you're defining engagement, and then would love to have a better understanding. I mean, 51%, it's one of our lower numbers. And so just would love to have just more clarity around what does that mean, and then how are we addressing that? I mean, I see the goal, and I see the longer term goal,
Yes.
but even 65% of us being engaged is, we're not batting 1,000 there, so just want to have
Yes.
just a little bit more clarity.
So the staff engagement, that percentage came from Gallup. We just closed the Gallup window, and just peeping behind the curtains, we believe that that number has already increased. We do have our presentation in April that just focuses entirely on engagement, so I didn't go too deeply on this one. And so as we think about engagement, we have been using the Talent Pulse survey data, all of our data sets, having those conversations with staff members in the advisory to see what does it mean for them to feel engaged. And as you can see with the board members, increasing that by honoring our employees in the second half of the board meetings. Just some of the things that we will push deeper on in April.
Right. Let's have just a high level, what are we talking, what is engagement?
Yeah.
What are they said? They're they don't feel like they're being listened to. They don't feel excited to come to work. Help me get a little
Completion
picture.
of the survey. Come on up, Travis.
Travis.
And I think
Travis,
actually
join-
contextualize, if you will, too, Travis, on from the Gallup survey where our organization sits in regards to comparative
Yeah, that'd be great.
organizations. Yep.
Right there. Those are just
I'm on 3. That's the one I'm on.
And while, so this is an example of it, and Ashley Lane is responsible for employee engagement in HR, but I'm a good proxy because it's moved from my shop to HR, so I'll help the transition. So the Gallup survey is 12 questions that get at a series of things to identify what helps employees go beyond just clocking in and clocking out. what would have been called job satisfaction. So employee engagement is a step beyond that. What is it like for a student to go, or a teacher, staff member to go above and beyond their work? So it looks at 12 questions, averages on 1 to 5. You're strongly agree to strongly disagree. And then they take that composite score to determine one of 3 categories. Are you an engaged employee, so you are going above and beyond? Are you not engaged, so you're kind of going in and out, but not necessarily doing more or less, or actively disengaged? Those are the ones who are trying to tear down what you're trying to build up, either outwardly or behind the scenes. And so that number, that 65% goal, is just that engaged group. Your goal as an organization, and they'll talk about this in April, is you want at least a 4-to-1 ratio of engaged employees to the actively disengaged to see a positive movement in culture. This past time, and Ashley can correct me, was our highest at around a 5-to-1 ratio over the course of doing this for about 10 years.
And that makes sense that it's not every person, because these numbers wouldn't match like a 50% ratio, right? So
Exactly.
that's good. That's
so
a good
these are on a
explanation.
scale of like 1 to 5. So
Yeah.
things that are above, think how you do a survey. To get a 4.5 means, almost everyone scored at a 4 or 5.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Travis. That's it, Jessica.
Good afternoon. And I just wanted to add that, so we just completed the survey. It just ended. So in April, we should have the data. But to not look at the 53 or the 65 as what it is, because last year in the 2025 administration, APS reached a 75th percentile of engagement for K through 12 districts that participate in this survey. And so that means we're in the top quartile for our employees being engaged, and hopefully that will increase this year. And I will also add that for last year's participation, we were at 70%. So I can say that this year we do know, while we don't have the numbers, we do know that participation for the survey is at 81%, which is the highest that we have ever been. And so just employees feeling comfortable to take the survey and an increase in participation in that way means a lot. And so we'll wait to see where the data falls in April, and hopefully it is trending upward. I just wanted to add that to Travis's comments.
Thank you. Board Member Mitchell.
Really quick, love seeing the data, especially the KPIs and how we're doing really well, especially around retention. I think having an 86% retention rate is something to be proud of as we look to go to 90 by 2030. Also love a good matrix, and in the matrix that we have about 9 boxes. Out of those 9 boxes, we have 2 of the boxes that have improvement plans in them. And I know most of our teachers in APS are amazing, but for those teachers that do fall within those 2 boxes, can you give me some perspective on what the improvement plan entails as we look to hit that 90% number by 2030?
Sure. So when you're looking at the word improvement plan, do not think of it as a formal necessarily professional development plan for the purpose of coaching or exiting or anything of a punitive nature. Instead, when you're looking at improvement plan, you are looking at professional development plans that are designed to support a individual's growth. You're also looking at an improvement plan that could entail a coaching cycle, which is supported by our teaching and learning department, and also instructional coaches or instructional leaders within the building. It could be simply making modifications to the instructional day for the teacher to make sure that they have additional professional learning opportunities. So a plan necessarily is not one that you could think of in terms of performance management per se, but definitely one that provides the employee the opportunity for growth.
Thank you. I'll save my questions for one-on-one.
Board Member Howard.
Real quickly, to build upon, thank you for that question, Board Member Mitchell. Knowing that was really helpful to hear overview of the talent review matrix and knowing it's been in place for a while. What is different now? That it sounds like we're having even more success with it, or it's progressing more. There's more support. Y'all touch on that a little bit. If we're seeing a change, what are we doing differently, or are we not in this space? I mean, giving the overview that was given, having those examples shared of like what it looks like in a school, and then with the priority schools now and supporting that process. It sounds, and everyone going through the process already for talent review. Hearing that overview is new for me as a board member right now. And is there something that's shifted in the system around this, or have we been using this talent review matrix?
Yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily anything new around the talent reviews. As Forrestella mentioned, it's been around for a minute. I do think what we're doing now is really bringing it back and ensuring that all of our principals are trained and they understand how to use it. And what might be a change, now that I think about it, is just the fact that we've had some significant turnover at the principal level. And so ensuring that the principals that are currently in place, that they understand the talent review process, what it is intended to do, and they have the training and support from the HR team to ensure that they're doing with fidelity and they're doing it the right way, of course, along with their associate superintendent. And so I don't know that it's a new process necessarily. We're just bringing that back and making sure that it's being implemented with consistency and fidelity.
I think that was a great response. As I indicated before, it's not a new process, and as Deputy Chair Usher has indicated, that it has evolved. So initially, when this was implemented 8 years ago, and again, I found great value in it as a principal at the elementary level at that particular time, it was just a paper and pencil activity. We have evolved in such a way that it is a dashboard by which we can electronically look at it, manipulate that dashboard, and it's important to note that doing it twice a year, because initially it was just an end-of-year activity, it is now something that is done twice a year at the beginning, and then you evaluate where individuals have landed on the matrix towards the end of the year. Me personally, as an associate superintendent, I use it as a checkpoint with my principals. Where are these individuals now? Do we still have some talent concerns, or have those individuals responded to the coaching or responded to the improvement plans and have now shifted other ways into the matrix, which is ideally what we're looking for.
Thank you. And that helps me understand what's different in terms of consistency and support. So thank you for that overview.
Okay, thank you all so much for this presentation on how we're growing and promoting strong teachers, leaders, and staff. We had one point of follow-up from this one, which is to get more information on the number of employees who are going to have access to some of these additional training and credentialing opportunities. Just heard a resounding kind of common thread from my colleagues around the importance of certification and how it might relate to improved teacher retention, even though we are actually doing pretty well there. We got some clarification on staff engagement numbers and what we're really looking for and unpacking, and then a better understanding of this whole talent review process and our improvement plan. And so really feel like we're in good hands with the leadership team to ensure that we're empowering all of our employees for success on whatever that may look like for them individually. Thank you all so much. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dr. Johnson.
Awesome. Thank you, Tommy and Felicia. Our last work session presentation is about how we fund all of this wonderful stuff, and also what the governor said about funding all this wonderful stuff. So, Dr. Bracken.
That's correct. Good afternoon, Board Chair Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Johnson. Today we'll talk about 3 topics related to finance. First, I'll provide you with a consolidated general fund financials for FY26 for all activities occurring in the months of July through December. We're going to give an update on the quarterly student activity fund reports, and I will provide an overview of the governor's state of the state and how that might impact our FY27 budget planning. I will say that we talked about all of these things in depth at our Budget Commission meeting last week, which you can find available on the board's YouTube channel. With the next 4 slides, we'll cover the FY26 Consolidated General Fund financials for the first half of the fiscal year. So far, we've collected 74.62% of the total resources budgeted, 87.4% 7% in local taxes, 37.21 with state, and 5.77 in our other, which includes the Title I transfer into Fund 150. We are getting caught up on those Title I transfers, and so we'll see that number for the other correct next month. We're currently tracking on pace for revenue collections as compared to this time last year at 74.62% total compared to 74.76% last year. On slide 5, we see the budget to actual expenditures so far for FY26. We've spent 44.33% of budgeted allotments. Spending in all functions is appropriate for this point in the fiscal year. And the slide 6 shows our spend this year against last year. The overall spend is ahead of pace by less than 1%. Detailed financials can be found in agenda item 9.2. On slide 7, you'll find the summary for the FY26 second quarter student activity funds report. Total annual revenue is a little over $3 million. And that leads spend so far, which is around $2.38 million. This is appropriate for this point in the fiscal year. The detailed by school reports can be found in agenda item 9.5. This slide shows the current percentage of use of fund balance budgeted and the percentage to total expenditures, which is currently at 12.26%. As a reminder, our long-term goal is to be at 15% of fund balance and no lower than 12%. With no usage of fund balance this year, we would be at 13.27%. We have no budget adjustments this month. However, in agenda item 9.3, you can find the detailed information report for special revenue adjustments less than $1 million that have occurred in January. The next several slides will provide an overview of the FY27 budget planning process so far. In particular, I'll share updates on revenue as discussed in detail at the January Budget Commission meeting. As a quick recap, the original FY26 state funding included significant investments in QBE for enrollment growth statewide, teacher training and experience, and the large increases in state health benefit rates for all employees. For the mid-year, the governor has recommended $611.8 million to provide a $2,000 one-time supplement to full-time benefit-eligible formula-earned K-12 teachers, school administrators, custodians, nutrition workers, nurses, and bus drivers. We call that group out because, as you will see, that is not all of our employees. The estimated impact to APS from that the state may cover is around $9.7 million. However, approximately, and that would cover about 4,300 employees. However, if we were to match this contribution for non-state covered employees, it would cost us an additional estimated $7.5 million from local funds in the current year. For FY27, we continue to see state health rates going up. While the state will cover the portion of this increase related to certified employees, such as teachers, all other employees must be covered through local funds. We estimate this impact could be an additional $4.5 million for next year. TRS rates are also going up by nearly 2%. That is the equivalent of a 2% increase on all of our salary. We will continue to monitor other recommended amendments to QBE as they make their way through the legislative process. This includes funding for buses, student supports, and pre-K programs. The key takeaway from the state economist forecast is that while we are still not in a recession, the economy is still cooling. Interest rates on automobiles and mortgage loans remain high as compared to last decade, cooling the housing market. Inflation will continue at elevated levels, and national imports and exports have significantly decreased, leading to business costs rising and a record number of bankruptcies. Despite the U.S. and the state not being in a recession, people are acting as if we are. This is due to slow real income growth and weak consumer sentiment. We will continue these conversations and more at our next Budget Commission meeting, which is scheduled for February 26th. That concludes my presentation. I'll take your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bracken. I'll start. Any questions on my right?
Hello, is it Dr. Bracken or it is great, wonderful. You at our commission meeting, which was very detailed, mentioned House bill and Senate bill that would take away from property taxes that we were monitoring. What were those bills again?
So those were Senate Bill 382, which I will say just passed committee and is going to Senate for vote tomorrow. So that was an update that occurred just a second ago. That one would eliminate our ability to opt out of the original House Bill 581, which sets a cap on how much local revenue we can access from residential properties. We have a lot of talking points around that. When we were opting out of House Bill 581, we're dusting those off and we'll get those back out to everybody. The second is House Bill 1114, which the goal is to shift the emphasis on local property taxes away for school districts by 2032. So that's the other one that we're watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Hutchinson. That was actually my question around HB 1114. I was curious, A, what percentage of our operating revenue is generated through local property taxes? But also, what would be the impact of that bill on our district and our ability to operate?
Yeah. So around 75% of our operating budget comes from local revenue. We know that more than 50% of that comes from residential properties. And so it would be a huge impact. How that impacts, I think, still has to be ironed out with how we're stepping off of that and into 2032. So what that pace looks like, we don't really know. There's also been floated an opportunity for school districts to leverage a FLOST similar to our special purpose local option sales tax or a penny tax that could help offset that. But for context, we have about $815 million a year that comes in local property taxes. Our SPLOST is around $650 over the course of 5 years. So that penny tax will not even come close to offsetting what that local revenue looks like on a given year.
Would it be incorrect to state, and I don't mean to even be hyperbolic, but that a bill like that would effectively defund public school in this state?
It would for us. I know that some districts that are more dependent on state funding than local funding might be able to manage something like that. But for districts and a majority of districts that are very dependent on local revenue, yes, that I don't know how we continue to do operations.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, I did have a similar question to that concern in terms of like how would these different bills affect schools in operation?
Yeah, so the majority of our funding does come from local property taxes. And so these bills that cap our access to that means that we have less money coming in and we don't really have an opportunity to make that money up in other areas. So we can't raise fees, we can't charge, we can't get that money back from anywhere else. I get the intent of these bills, which is to alleviate the pressures on our families and our homeowners around property taxes. And there are ways that we can continue to work with legislators to do that. We have a homestead exemption that is $50,000 for everyone, goes up to $100,000 for seniors. So we have been working towards that end of giving property relief, but currently as it stands, we are highly dependent on those funds, and pulling them out without a real plan going forward would defund and destabilize our funding mechanisms.
Thank you, Dr. Zeff.
Thank you, Dr. Bracken, and as Board Member Hutchinson said, I appreciate all the detail that you provided in the Budget Commission earlier last week. The common thread amongst the legislative proposals all seems to be relief for homeowners. Can you speak to where we are with our commercial digest appraisal conversations? I know that at the Budget Commission, you actually said we were projecting zero growth in our commercial digest, which is, for those of us that drive around the city of Atlanta, it's hard to believe that nothing is growing in the city. I mean, so it does make one ask questions. And I know that you were engaging with, I know the mayor has some energy around this, the county commission has some energy around this appraisal conversation. Can you give us an update on where those conversations are?
Yeah, so before the holiday break, we did meet with a subcommittee that we're trying to pull together, a task force that is between the Fulton County Assessor's Office, the city, and I'm the representative for APS in that. And so we have not pulled a meeting back together. I can follow back up and see where we are with that. But anything that we do this year is not going to, we're not going to see it for a couple of years, or, you know, at least another year or two out. Where we do see growth, and I mentioned this at our commission meeting, is we did receive more than we had anticipated back in our pilot payments. So commercial growth is happening to some extent in the TADS. So that still isn't coming to us for our ability to leverage those resources, meaning that we're still very dependent on residential properties and the growth that's happening there. It is an issue that commercial values have been undervalued in Fulton County for some time. There's multiple studies that show that, and there's multiple reasons that are driving that. And I think this subcommittee is trying to think through short-term, long-term goals to help try to get at more of those funds.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bracken. Thank you, everyone, for your reports this evening. Thanks to my colleagues for your questions, and to our future board member, thank you for getting comfortable and leaning in and asking the hard questions today. Madam General Counsel, is there a reason for the board to retreat into executive session?
Yes, Madam Chair, the board needs to discuss personnel, real estate, and legal matters.
Is there a motion to enter into an executive session to discuss personnel, real estate, and legal matters?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved by Board Member Brooks and seconded by Board Member Mitchell. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.